Welcome to Cambodia Business Week. Glad to be back on this beautiful Saturday morning. Today we're going to look at a little bit more of the altruistic side of our country, and we're going to talk about a very, very important NGO in the market here that's doing some fantastic work. And I'm very privileged to have on this morning somebody who's really invested a lot of time in helping the youth of the country and developing programs which are expanding and getting bigger and more diversified. That's doing some great work. Sometimes there's criticism of NGOs, sometimes we love NGOs. In this case, we have an NGO that we could really love. It's called Indochina Starfish Foundation. And I'm privileged again to have Vicheka Chiok on the show. Did I say that right, Vicheka? Almost. Can you say your name properly? Because I'm just failing after 9.5 years in Cambodia.
Chiok Vicheka. So my name is Vicheka.
Now, what does your name mean?
Vicheka means November. So that's when I was born.
And Chiok means?
Chiok is just to meet, and it doesn't translate anything in this situation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, tell us where you're originally from. You're Cambodian, so where were you born? Where did you grow up?
I was born in one of the province, Kampong Cham, so in one of the small town, and then our family had moved to Kampong Cham also, but just moved to the city, Kampong Cham, in the central of the province. And we've been living there, my parents still living there though, but I moved almost 20 years ago. Okay. To live in one other province for working and moved to Phnom Penh 14 years ago.
Okay. Was there a solid enough education system at the time when you were growing up?
At that time, I never finished high school. So I fell high school, and then I started working and moved from Kampong Cham province to work in one of the province. After 3 years, I thought I had to go back to school. So I tried to look for a job in Phnom Penh so that I get a job and move to Phnom Penh, and I continue my degree in Phnom Penh.
Okay. What did you study?
I studied general management.
General management. Okay.
Yeah.
Which school did you attend?
Bill Bry.
Bill Bry?
Yeah,
okay.
Bill Bry.
Okay.
The easy one.
It's not that easy. And you graduated?
Yeah.
Okay, with a degree in management?
Yeah, general management, yeah.
Okay. And did you go on for further studies, or you decided to go to work?
No, I study at the same time I'm working. So I study at night time and working daytime, full time. So it's quite challenging. It's not easy to manage between the very busy job and study at the same time. When I finished, I thought I'm done for that time.
Enough. Okay. So where did you work? What was your first job?
My first job was I started my first job when I was 17 years old as a cleaner. So that's how I started.
Work was tough those times, right? It was not easy to get a good job at the...
No, because I didn't finish high school too at the time. But I was a cleaner with one of the Western family who work in the church. So at the time I was not in school. So I thought it's an opportunity for me to work and to learn English. So that's how I start to speak a little bit of English.
Right. And then what are some of the other jobs you had before you assumed responsibility for the NGO?
So moving from that job, I moved to Kampong Thom province, so one other province, to work as a volunteer. For 1 year over there, it's charity organization also. 1 year over there, I applied for a full-time job in the same organization. And I stayed there for 2 years. And then moved to work in another organization in Phnom Penh for 5 years. So within 5 years, I changed 3 different roles. And then,
is it mostly in the field of NGOs?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then after that, I moved to a business for less than a year. It's a small business at the time, which I feel it's not enough challenge, not enough work to do. So I keep looking for some new challenge. So after some time, I start this job in Indochina Starfish Foundation.
Okay, so what brought you to Indochina Starfish Foundation?
So at the time, I was introduced by one of my boss in the old organization to the current organization, which at the time the organization very small. So we work with like 50 children in the education program, and around also few hundred children in the football program in 2008. So I started working alongside with the previous country manager, which I'm taking over the role 2.5 years ago. The organization started growing, and currently the organization works with more than 600 children in education program and almost 4,000 children in the football program.
Tell us about the NGO. Tell us about what is your primary vision and goals as an NGO? So
Indochina Staffy Foundation started in 2006. So we run 2 main programs. One is education, one is football. So education program, we work with children who never been to school before or drop out of school because the family cannot afford to keep them in school. Even the school is free, but they have to pay for stationery, they have to pay for school uniform, bicycle, and all sorts of things related to the school.
This is mostly in the provinces, right?
Yeah. So most of the family we work with, they come from province, but they move to city, kind of the parent looking for a new job in the city. So most of them had to pay for the rent and stuff like that. So when they move to city, the children who already been in school, they either drop out, or if the one that never been in school, they miss the opportunity to go to school. So we work with that children, bring them in, teach them to grade in 1 year, to catch them up to the right age with the right grade. Because we only take children from 8 to 11 years old.
So effectively, you're an education institution.
Yeah.
You're a school.
Yeah, it's a school. So we run 2 schools, one in Sturminjay, one in Chbampo. But the children stay with us only 2 years, and then we integrate them to go to government school. So the idea is that we catch them up in our school, and then we support them to go to government school. So they go through the whole government school system.
So it's a transition period between coming from another part of the country, catching up, using the school to catch up, and also as the parents are trying to get work and stabilize and get a place to live. You're sort of taking care of the children part of the day through the school.
Yeah.
And they're also getting up to a certain level where they can attend school here in Phnom Penh. Okay.
Yeah. So
and how's that program grown over the years? Because I saw your numbers; it's just going.
So every year we take on between 80 to 100 new students, and then we integrate similar number of students to go to government school. So, but the number that integrate the government school, we continue to support them with stationery, bicycle, school fee if it need to, like extra class and things like that, and they come back for English class because for English is one of the main language for better employment opportunity, and also university require English also. So they come back for English class, they come back for computer, they come back for sport activity, and they come back for extra class.
How do you qualify it? Is there certain criteria? Obviously, people that could afford school, they don't actually need an NGO for the support. How do you qualify these people to make sure that they're in need?
So we had a list of criteria.
Right.
So we work with local authority to identify the family in need, and then we have the social worker team who is interviewing all the family before we take on. So it's kind of asking them questions on how many people in family, how much they earn a month, how many children already in the school, and how much they earn and stuff like that. And then they make the short list, and the social worker will do the home visit. So the home visit without them know in advance, just to see the real situation.
Is the social worker part of your organization?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're qualifying people to make sure they're in need.
Yeah.
Then you also have the football program, the soccer program.
Yeah.
How did that evolve from the school?
So it's kind of separate program, the football, but it's not separate. So currently the football one, we work with almost 4,000 children in Phnom Penh and across more than 10 provinces in Cambodia. So the aim of football program is not to produce elite football player, but use it as a platform to provide education. So we teach them on danger of drug, alcohol, gambling, gender and teamwork and confidence and things like that, which is the education part. It's not boring training. It's we use it as a fun game activity, but as education, which is even the aim is not producing elite football player, but we have some really good football player who've been selected by Football Federation of Cambodia. We work very closely with the Football Federation of Cambodia, and some of our female players have been selected by the federation on behalf of national team to place overseas again.
Okay, so the overall mission of the NGO. I mean, obviously, we've looked at detail, but what's your overall mission?
So I believe that all the children, no matter where they were born, they deserve the right for education, healthcare, and sport. So we focus on education, healthcare. We provide them vaccination. We look after
free
them.
vaccination.
Yeah, free vaccination. Right. Look after them in our own school, and if they get very serious, sick and need a bigger treatment, we work with other organizations or hospital to get free treatment or discount treatment for them. And the football is kind of education, but also fitness and health. Opportunity for them to interact with other children.
Okay. And who are the backers of the NGO?
So the founder is the Peter Slater. He's and a group of his friends. So they used to work in Hong Kong, very successful in their Korean business, and they want to do something to give back to society. So he arrived in Cambodia in 2005. See a lot of children walking on the street collecting the rubbish to make some money to support the family. So that's how the program started. He started with just teaching English only, like he like somebody with some of the people that he know, teach English, and then after some time they realized that teaching only English doesn't give them a good opportunity to be employed, because the aim of the program to get them into a better employment opportunity. So they decided to include the full Khmer curriculum into the school system.
Right. So besides Peter, who else is?
So currently we have a total of 10 board members.
Right.
Yeah, they still very much involved. Mostly they involved in part of connecting us to funding individual
Right. So they're helping you with the funding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you guys are growing a lot, right?
Yeah, we continue to grow. So this year again, we commit to take on 80 new students who fit our criteria.
And that's normally the running rate is about 80, and because 80 graduate and 80 come in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
what about people that want to stay? They don't want to go.
They had to, because in our school we have only up to grade 5.
Right.
So they had to go through the government school system so that they can go to university or get employed.
But you're not really an accredited institution, right? You're just
no. We work. We have MOU with the Ministry of Education, so we work alongside with them, and we work alongside with the government school and integrate them with the golden school and stuff like that.
Right. So you've done very well in education and sports. Is there any plans for the future?
So the plan is we continue to take on new students in education program, and for the football this year we are planning to expand to work with people with HIV and blind and wheelchair.
It's still a problem in the country, HIV?
We're not really focused on DZ. Our program is just give them opportunity to be part of sport and to be part of society. So we're not going into detail on education on DZ. We leave that to other organizations to do it.
Okay, I understood. And what do you personally get out of it? I mean, this is obviously sort of a work that you can see results and see that it's actually a contribution to society, and that you can see people that come in a certain state, maybe not educated or didn't have access to education. You give it to them, and they leave later on much smarter, brighter, and ambitious people. So what do you get out of it?
Satisfaction. You see, I started in organization like almost 9 years ago. So I see a lot of children that small, and they getting growing bigger and taller and very mature. And one of the students, because we are 11-year-old organization, we have only one first student finish high school, finish grade 12. She is currently working as a cashier in one of the restaurants, and she's doing accounting degree. She's come from very, very difficult background, and now you see the change in her. You see the confidence. You can see that she's going to go somewhere. She's growing, and she's very determined to do better, to grow.
I'm sure there'll be a lot of thankful adults that were children in your school that will be very thankful for what you've done for them. Well, it's been fantastic work that you guys are doing. You've been doing it for 11 years now. And I guess where do you go from here in terms of an NGO? You're gonna increase your activities. You're now only located in Phnom Penh at the moment.
Yeah, only in Phnom education, only Phnom Penh, Chba, Amper, and Steng Min Chey. But football program is in Phnom Penh and more than 10 provinces across the country.
How many people working for the NGO?
100 people.
100 people, yeah. Mostly Khmer's?
Yeah, only 2 foreigners.
Right.
All Cambodian, only 2 foreigners. And that's the aim. We're trying to get the organization to be sustainable. Because foreigners, sometimes they come and go. They like to change work and stuff like that. So if we have Cambodian, it's always in the country. It's kind of like the program is more sustainable. That's the aim. But we still need a lot of support from the foreigners on the fundraising and communication side.
Right. I'd like to ask you maybe a question. Interesting question to me is, have you seen turnaround stories? Have you seen some kids that have come in that are really misbehaved or troublesome? I don't know what I was when I was a kid. You saw a great turnaround because they actually because there's a lot of discussion that education does solve a lot of problems in the world. Having that access to education. And perhaps a lot of the world's troubles is because people don't have access to education.
So I have one story to share. So we have one student at the time. He's really like football. He's in our own education program, but he also in our football program. So he loved football, but he caused a lot of trouble with his friend and in a group playing
he used
football.
To beat them up.
Trouble
means beating them up, right?
No, we had child protection policies, not allowed to do all those things. So at the time, it was not me dealing with the situation. It was previous country manager. She said, if you want to play football, if you want to be in football program, you have to look at how you treat your friend and stuff like that again. So she banned him from being in football playing football for few days, just to let him think of what he should do again. And then since then, he just completely new person because he want to play football. He just love it. And now he's the football coach. He is the football coach now.
Oh, really?
And he coaching a lot of teams. He's still in school though. He in grade 12 himself. He's a lot older than a lot of students. But he
doesn't want to leave.
Now he doesn't want to leave.
He became the coach. He doesn't want to leave.
We encourage them to leave. So we give them opportunity to stay with us for some time, just to give them experience in the workplace and stuff like that. But overall, we want them to leave. We want them to go to the outside world, experience the real life, the real world. So that's the aim of the program.
Okay. Well, you're doing great work. You should be really proud of yourself. The NGO should be proud of what they're doing. You're helping out the country a lot. We need organizations like you to take care of the needy and to take care of those that don't have the access to education. Is so important, obviously, and that helps the country a lot. And that model, hopefully, other NGOs will look at as well. And it's more about educating people than taking care of people. Because you educate them, they take care of themselves, right? That's the whole idea. We're going to ask you that famous last question that we ask everybody, which is, what do you love about your Cambodian? So what do you love about Cambodia and what would you like to see improved?
So I really like the security. It's very safe in Cambodia. And I didn't want to move because I had opportunity to go and live somewhere overseas, but I don't want to go. I love my country. I love the people. I love the food. I love the culture.
The food.
Yeah, I love food. It's not easy to find Cambodian food in Namibia.
It's not.
Yeah, so that's I really like, but I really want to see the change on education and medical health.
Is the education system getting better?
It's getting better, but it's not there yet. We need to have more quality education system and also the medical care quality one.
That's going to take some time.
Yeah, but that's what I hope to see.
Well, thank you for chatting.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was great to talk to you.
Thank you.
Come back again and tell us maybe next year how things are going.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thank you very much. Thank you.
We'll be back after a short break. Welcome back to Cambodia Business Week. We have two guests today. We talked about NGOs before, which was an educational institution. We're going to talk about education in a different way, professional education, training, which Andrew's a returning. Well, Andrew, first, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming back on our show.
I must have behaved myself the first time. Thank you for having me back.
Your business must be successful that you've actually lasted now a year in Cambodia.
Not complaining. Yeah.
Okay, well, you came, if I remember correctly, you came from South Africa, and you opened up shop here about a year ago.
Yeah.
And you started a training company, which was a little faddish at the time.
Yeah.
And becoming more faddish. I can't tell you how many direct mails I get a day about training for this and training for that. So it's become quite a competitive market here.
It has, and I mean, yeah, it is getting increasingly competitive. I mean, I've noticed a difference just in the year that I've been in business in Phnom Penh. But what's starting to kind of get my goat, as the English love to say, is...
That means he's getting upset.
It's just, the number of multinational companies that are sending staff to be trained to, in Singapore or Malaysia or Bangkok. And, I meet a lot of companies in the kind of process of expanding my client base. And you hear it once or twice and you think, oh, yeah, okay. And then you hear it 10 or 20 times. And you start to think that, but there's a bit of a problem here.
See, I didn't realize that. So a lot of bigger companies, let's say international companies, are sending their staff for training overseas.
Yeah.
Despite the availability of a plethora of training companies here.
Well, this is the point. I mean, the Presentation Clinic is but one of a handful of new breed of training companies in Phnom Penh that are able to offer world-class training solutions right in our own backyard. And, multinational company A, who has a representative office in Phnom Penh, but whose regional headquarters might be in Singapore or Malaysia, is, sending staff from Cambodia to Singapore or Malaysia to conduct training that we are more than capable of doing right here at home.
And what type of training are they getting overseas that they supposedly can't get here?
Well, that's just it. I mean, that's what I keep coming away from these meetings scratching my head about, is that it's sales training, management coaching. The one company I spoke to last week said, no, we actually have a presentation trainer in Singapore. We could be doing that here at a fraction of the cost.
Right.
And not only at a fraction of the cost, but also these multinational companies are then contributing to the growth of the training sector here in Cambodia, which, as you rightly say, is getting bigger and is getting increasingly competitive. But what are we doing throwing thousands of dollars into the economies of Singapore and Malaysia when we can be benefiting the economy here at home?
Okay, well, that's very interesting. I mean, I guess a lot of people didn't realize that. So is it mostly the top multinational companies that are doing this?
It's the big companies whose brands you'd instantly recognize.
So your success, I guess, the success in the market for companies like yours is with the small and medium-sized companies.
Yes, I mean, I kind of scratch my head every week when I take a look at my website and the homepage. We've got our client logos on there, and I kind of think, how on earth did I build up a client base that looks like this in just a year? And I came to Cambodia with the express intention of helping Cambodian-owned companies. And it just has happened that my own client base is multinationals, with as you say, the slightly smaller guys. But it's the big guys who are, I think, missing an opportunity here, and I think spending way too much on training. I mean, doing that training here at home, as I said to you earlier, helping to create a training center in and out of Phnom Penh, so that companies in Singapore and Malaysia start sending their staff here to be trained, benefits us all.
Right. And is it reaching out to these HR managers to get a change of mindset? How do you do that?
Well, I mean, yeah, the process is, I think, starting to prick the conscience of these multinational companies.
But is it also the fact that regional headquarters says we use this firm in 10 countries or 15 countries, and we have to use them in Cambodia, and Cambodia has to go to Singapore, Vietnam has to go to Singapore?
Yeah, possibly. And I think the origins of it, I understand. 10 years ago, this level of training was not available or widely available in Phnom Penh. It is now. And I think the time's come for these companies to just have a look at the way they're doing their training. I mean, as nice as it is to be sent to Singapore or Malaysia for a week to do training, it's very disruptive. Not only to have those staff members away from the office for an extended period of time, but for those staff members to be away from their family and friends for an extended period of time. We can do this here.
Some people want to get away once in a while, right?
That's called a holiday.
We used to call it a boondoggle. But anyway.
Yeah, we all like to get away on business. Sure, I'm not disputing that, but I think those multinational companies are kind of missing out on a trick. And I think it would benefit everybody if we started looking at doing this training, growing this training sector that we have here, right here in Phnom Penh. We've got some incredibly talented individuals that are doing training now here.
Yeah, let's talk about the growth a little bit of the training sector here. You've seen a blossoming of companies here. And has the professional level really increased?
I'd like to say yes and no. I think there are, a small number of companies that are offering, as I said, kind of, first world-class training. My inbox also gets bombed every day from companies that are giving public courses, and I don't necessarily see an improvement in the professional quality, at least of even the branding of that particular training.
Seems to be particularly in human resources.
Human resources
and tax and accounting.
Yeah,
tax more.
And you see it with sales training courses as well. But if the advertisement for the training is riddled with spelling errors and grammatical errors, you really have to ask yourself, what's the quality of the actual training going to be like?
Right. There's no real certification process here either, right?
No, there isn't. I mean, I have a vocational training license from the Ministry of Labour. I do wonder sometimes, whether other companies are in possession of those licenses. But my intention was to arrive here and to do everything above board. And fine, if I need a vocational training license, let's get a vocational training license. Let's do this properly. And I think that perhaps that's part of the problem as far as multinationals go, is that they don't see yet that level of professionalism, that level of certification across the industry here. That there's a worry that, well, if we do this training locally, are we really getting good bang for your buck?
And what's involved in that certification, getting that license? What do you have to prove to the Ministry of?
Very little. It was quite a quick.
You're not selling that very well.
It was quite a quick process. No, I think in a way I am selling it. It's not difficult. It's a few forms. It's a few weeks. It's a few $100s. There's a fitness test just to make sure that you're actually capable of standing up or even sitting down, but able to give the training that you promised you're going to be able to do. And that was it. It was just it's another certificate that I have to display in my workplace along with my tax patent and my business registration certificate. And there's my vocational training license from the Ministry of Labour. In fact, a lot of companies, when I do go and see them, that's one of the questions they are starting to ask more regularly is, are you licensed?
Licensing is becoming very important.
As it should be.
As it should be. Well, we heard that obviously that you'd like to see these large international companies not send their people overseas and send them to the presentation clinic.
That's right.
Those like yourselves. Let's talk about what the presentation clinic offers. In case we have new listeners, we're always having new listeners, right? So you were on about a year ago, if I remember.
It was early December, so yeah, a good 7.
You really
7, 8 months.
remember?
You did say then actually we'd have you back in 6 months, so we're a few weeks late, I suppose.
That's usually happens.
No, I do appreciate the invitation.
No, but let's talk about, because you've evolved. Your customer base has grown. Your training programs have diversified. What are the topical training programs you're offering now? What people come to the presentation? It's no longer only presentation. No,
not at all. I mean, it's it's expanded quite a lot actually, to the extent that back in February, I hired an English trainer, Brandon Roberts, who's now doing business English programs. So we're offering a 12 or 16 week program, and that we tailor like we do all our other training. So it might be, spoken English, written English, customer service English, etc. So we're now able to offer that. We're doing a lot of sales training and sales presentation training. So helping staff who are in sales who don't necessarily have the confidence that would come with the job, we help them to develop that confidence. We are doing a fair bit of presentation training, particularly a few nervous CEOs around town that have big presentations coming up that, I had a guy call me a couple of weeks ago, and typically they always leave it to the last minute. I've got a presentation, it's Monday morning they call, I've got a presentation on Thursday. So I say to them, well, look, I can either give you a fish.
Do you do their homework?
I don't do their homework, but I do encourage them to do their own. So I can either give you a fish to eat, and we can work on your presentation for Thursday, or I can teach you how to fish. And let's put you in through a 6-week program. And fortunately, most of them appreciate the wisdom of doing that. So presentation and public speaking coaching, very much still a kind of mainstay of the business. But increasingly, the uptake for the business English has been very strong, particularly in the past few weeks. I think now that most of the holidays are out the way, and the sales training continues to be a core business.
I find that interesting as well. There's a lot of youngish CEOs that actually don't work for international companies. They haven't gone through international company training. If you work for a big international company, you go through these extensive training courses, usually very top-notch training. But we have a lot of small, medium-sized businesses here that have some pretty young CEOs that actually haven't gone through the corporate culture and the training. And they are beginning to have to get challenged to be able to act in public speaking and also giving headquarter presentations. So this is something you help people with.
Yeah, and beyond that as well. I mean, we're finding particularly those mid-sized multinationals, and it's exactly that. It's particularly the mid to senior level managers who are, by virtue of where they've come through the ranks, are very young. So we're finding ourselves doing an increasing amount of management coaching. So it's helping them to, how to make decisions effectively, how to inspire and motivate a group of people, how to manage a group of people to try and achieve as much happiness in the workplace as possible. I mean, happiness is becoming, 10 years ago, we kind of laughed it off. Staff don't need to be happy. They just need to arrive at work and do what they're told. But happiness in the workplace is becoming a real important thing, so much that consultants are hired around the world to go into companies and to tell you how happy your staff are and what you can be doing to increase that level of workplace contentment. Yeah. So that's all part and parcel of our management coaching as well. So the product offering has most definitely developed over the past 6 months.
Okay. Are you doing more international expat sort of training, or are you doing more local Khmer?
We're doing more local Khmer for multinational companies. Trying at the moment to get Cambodian business owners to appreciate the return on investment from doing soft skills training.
Is that happening?
It's happening, but it's happening slowly. And I think the pressure is on those companies, thanks to the uptake from smaller multinationals in Phnom Penh that are doing an increasing amount of training.
How do Cambodians executives approach training? Do they take it very seriously?
Yeah, very seriously. I mean, they want to see a lot of supporting documentation. They go through quite a rigorous kind of due diligence process. I mean, it's a meeting. It's then, they want to see course overviews. It might be another meeting. I'm finding that the process of actually getting them to agree to a start date, that's starting to take a little bit longer.
So when are we going to see the Andrew Barnes Institute of Training?
Well, we call it the Presentation Clinic for now. As well the costs involved with re-registering the business. So I think for now I'm going to leave it as it is.
But the business is growing now. You're two?
Yeah, we're two. We're happy. I mean, I did not think when I launched the business last September that I'd be sitting here the following July already with another staff member. So and already I'm thinking for 2018 that I'm probably going to have to expand the business English staffing because the uptake has just been so strong.
Well, let's sort of reiterate the message in that Andrew's been kind enough to come on today and express his opinion that. There is enough competency in Cambodia. There's enough talent in Cambodia and certainly professional organizations to do the training that companies need, multinational companies need, or Cambodian companies need right here in our own backyard.
That's it. Let's save some money. Let's develop the sector.
Let's support the local industry.
Yeah, and I mean, let's in the long run, let's make Phnom Penh a regional training center.
Right. So that was a great message, and congratulations on surviving almost a year.
Thank you.
What did they say? If you don't make it in 2 years, you made it in 1 year. So
I keep seeing all these stats for failures of startups, which I try to ignore. So it's just one day at a time, one foot in front of the other, one invoice at a time.
Okay. Well, congratulations, Andrew. Great job.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on again.
Thanks for having me back.
Okay. Thanks.